Colonel Rain, sir, Captain Harshwild, informed me you needed to see me.
Yes. Agent Stryker Stone, we have a problem child in our mix. Does the name Carlos Natoya ring a bell?
That's a name I could never forget. He was my last arrestee before I left the Federal Bureau and joined Central Intelligence in 2009. The Bureau pulled me from BAU work and placed me into NCI cases after the Fiddleback takedown. I ensured that he was tucked away in ABX Florence, in Colorado. Carlos was a more prolific hacker than that British guy McKinnon. He's equally dangerous as Mitnick. Carlos was an expert by 18. He had stolen over 20 million worth of direct streams from Netflix, 40 million worth of songs from Pandora, stole percentages out of 248,000 bank accounts across the world. By 19, in 2009, he hacked nuclear launch codes from South Korea and Iran, then tried to sell them to rogue generals in Africa and Asia. That's when we finally caught him and wrapped him up. Looking at him, you would think he's just a high-strung person, no threat. But he is lethal, like a corrupted quantum computer. That's why we dubbed him November 5. He's a revolution. How is he a threat to our mission now? He's locked up tighter than S4, was in Area 51. Plus, by now, he's 32.
Apparently, Stryker, like all U.S. agencies, faces change, as does productivity. You were pulled and he's had probably 6 to 10 different handlers overwatching his stay in Hotel Florence in correlation with the warden since your time. We are searching for whom that current handler is. We will know in 3 minutes, whomever they are. A screw-up happened and he was allowed to obtain a game system and smart TV from a guard, of which he found the prison's Wi-Fi access, accessed the net and hacked into the prison network, then bounced out into other networks. Somehow. We are trying to figure it out, but he accessed networks belonging to Red Shield Arms and the Order of Saru. The information we accessed from this has been intel we have been working to capture.
This isn't good.
It's not. Our Strega network was able to intercept a podcast out of Los Angeles, having our dear November 5 on in 30 minutes to discuss his findings from this information. Needless to say, I'm waiting before we make a shutdown happen on this podcast. Strega will access the information stated then. That podcast studio will experience a blackout. We've already blocked their ability to transmit, but they'll still think they're live and fine.
This is BS. That warden knows he shouldn't have clearance to do that, nor have access to those tools.
I've already sent agents Jin and Jasper to investigate by ground and bring November 5 here. I have better suited containment options. Our clearance overrides Earth affairs. If he could hack Saru networks better than our own tech teams from a game system from prison, he will be needed for future problems we face and easily accomplish them.
Sir, no offense, that's a terrible idea. This guy would be detrimental if he gains access to the Strega network. I'm not down for babysitting and looking over my shoulder to a now 32-year-old that thinks he's the living internet version of God. If he gets access to Strega, he would become such. Not good.
I understand your distaste. I won't allow him access to Strega. Trust that the majestic 133rd has the technology to keep him contained. There will be requirements and boundaries met, or I will exterminate him myself.
Very well.
Now let's see what this little corrupted revolutionary has found out.
Welcome to Strega Network. Please provide login.
Strega, access connection, CGR Yeldon 4623.
Welcome, Colonel John Rain.
Strega, intercept connection of the Boom Tango podcast happening now in Los Angeles. Also intercept phone connection between the podcast host and one Carlos Natoya, an inmate from ABX Florence, Colorado. Put on screen Carlos Natoya's exact location with spectral analytics imaging transfer. I want to watch in real time.
Connection established to podcast. Podcast location verified. Podcast cast host verified. Producer verified. They are the only two in the studio chamber. Connection established, as previously directed. False live transmission engaged. Knowledge to listeners locked. Accessing spectral analytics of the Ultiverse of Florence, Colorado. ABX Florence verified. Entering prison. Target inmate Carlos Natoya DOC number 09099987 moved from block 500 pod. By DOC guard Andre Lewis. They've moved into a hall with phones 8 pods down out of view of interior cameras and line of sight. Inmate Carlos Natoya is dialing a phone. Connection to Boom Tango podcast established.
How are we seeing this, Colonel? What does it mean by Ultiverse?
Now you get to see some of the basic raw power of Strega. To keep it simple, it can manipulate the material realm and view things like a ghost. Think of it like this. When using this system, it's the same concept as a lucid dream. You're viewing through it, as if looking from a mirror or ghost's eyes. The Ultiverse, on the other side, is the mirror of the material we exist in, or a carbon copy of it, past and present only. It's piecing imagery, audio, and intelligence from that information. Our version does have limitations, though, after this conundrum. I plan to allow you to get to know this system. When you complete your tasks, let's leave.
Welcome one and all to another wild series of the Boom Tango podcast, coming to you live from the unforgiving streets of Los Angeles, California. I'm your host Mikey J, coming at you with our producer AJ. Tonight's episode we have an interesting guest. Our guest is an inmate in ABX Federal Prison in Florence, Colorado. We pulled massive strings and paid a good junk to make this happen. Our guest is known as November 5. He's serving hard time for 2 years worth of high-end hacking back in the year 2009. He caught life, but you can never hold a true hacker down, apparently. Hacking finds a way. Our guest claims he has proof of a secret network, claiming this network is a part of a hidden hand that is behind the insanity and chaos that is happening now in the present within our world. If this is true, you're about to hear about it first with us. Let's see what this guy has to say. AJ, you ready to dial him in?
Dialing line 5. Here we go.
This a collect call from an inmate at Federal Institution ABX Florence in Colorado. Do you accept all charges?
Yes, we do. Hey, November 5. This is Mikey J with the Boom Tango podcast in Los Angeles. What's up, November 5?
Man, it is an honor that someone is willing to hear me out. So I'm going to thank you before we lose connection. I have only been given 10 minutes to share this new finding.
Brother, my plan is to let you get it all out. We know the clock's ticking. You just lay it all out. For the next 15, we will take up the show after. Plus, we got the details you sent. Let's hear it.
I'm not going into the specifics of how I pulled this off. Just know it was with an X Cube, a smart TV, and bouncing through 25 different networks. Back before I caught life. I knew about this private security firm that worked with high-end clients around the world. They make weaponry too, and have sold to global terror networks even. They're known as Red Shield Arms. They are on paper owned by a guy named Rex Mason since 1992, but that's on paper. I found proof this company is doing wet work for an unknown secretive cult known as the Order of Seru. This isn't the Illuminati crap we've heard all our lives. That's a front, a ruse to deflect. This ancient serpent cult is the top of the tier, the top of the pyramid, the eye and above. They've been behind controlling the world secretively the last 1,500 years. Way back, as in 120,000 BC, that was the last time they ruled this world with an iron fist. They lost power 4,000 years ago, but after 1,000+ years, they've been working to regain that power, then succeed where they failed. I found evidence that this cult is in league with a population that lives under our feet, under the earth, like a secret army, waiting to strike and take over the world's governments. They've already economically broken the backs of every government in the world, enticing them to open borders and destabilizing by proxy wars. The United States is the last one to break. With its open border, they have every unknown criminal converging there to begin this strike. It's all planned. This ancient cult is also in league with a race of reptilian humanoids called Drakens. There are two types, ones that have been here for 200,000+ years, and ones from another part of our galaxy, and others. It's all coming to a mass and final fight for power.
Hold up. Producer AJ. What is that strange frequency noise? Crap, we lost November.
Clock's ticking.